AITA for asking someone with an invisible disability to move seats? Myself, 28M, and my partner, 31F, were recently riding the underground. My partner is 8 months pregnant and looks heavily pregnant too. No one could mistake her for being any different. She's not particularly mobile either now, and we've taken to riding the underground more. Even for shorter journeys, just to allow her to rest more frequently when we are out and about. We jumped on the Circle line today, and it was a particularly busy service during the rush hour, with people packed in tightly and standing throughout the aisle. On trips like this, I would look for one of the nearby priority seats reserved near the doors and would ask someone to vacate it to allow my partner to sit down. On all occasions up until now, we have never had a problem. Those who were sat in the seats could see my partner would struggle to stand on a busy train and will give up the seat without hesitation. On this particular day, one of the seats is occupied by an elderly gentleman with a walking stick, probably mid-80s, and one by a younger man, probably mid-20s. I make what I think is my best judgment call and ask the younger man if he would give up the seat for my partner. He replies that he has autism and that his disability allows him to use a priority seat too. I do understand that people have less visible disabilities and that under normal circumstances, he should be allowed to use the priority seat. However, I also felt that despite this, it wasn't a physical impairment and he was more capable of standing than my partner, who had been stood up for a long time and really needed to rest at this point. When I tried to explain this to him, he became very defensive and called me an asshole for not appreciating his needs too. Eventually, others began to overhear what was being said and someone else voluntarily offered up a normal seat. But the experience left me wondering if I was an asshole for insisting this person needed a priority seat less than my girlfriend. So, am I an asshole for asking someone with an invisible, non-physical disability to vacate a priority seat for my heavily pregnant partner? YTA when I tried to explain this to him, not for asking for this. YTA. NTA the asshole for asking. TA for insisting and invalidating his disability. I'm autistic and have had 2 babies, and while being pregnant is extremely tiring and hard on your body. Being autistic makes riding on buses torture for me. It's extremely overwhelming. And the seats for disabilities are really helpful for that. He did have a right to the seat. Question. Why are you always asking disabled people to give up their seat? You shouldn't be asking people in priority seating to give up their spot. Asking literally anyone else instead of the disabled people would be okay. YTA. Not for initially asking the guy to move, but for trying to get him to move after he said he needed the seat. It's not up to you to decide what disabilities are worthy of priority seating. You could have asked someone in a regular seat to move for your partner. YTA. I was a teenager when I was diagnosed with heart problems that the doctors said would be more dangerous to perform open heart surgery than to live with my diagnosis. I have passed out several times, including once when I fell face first into a tile floor and broke half the teeth in my mouth, and have had people tell me that I don't look disabled, and sometimes I haven't been so nice in my response to them. If they were entitled to that spot due to their disability, then you have no right to take it away from them. YTA. And honestly, I would give you a hard YTA. Here's what I want you to consider. The priority seats are for people who need them. If priority seats are full, you're being a dick by asking someone else to move from their seat. Period. I'm not trying to discredit your partner's pregnancy. However, when the priority seats are full, and you ask someone to vacate their seat for the sake of your partner, You are inherently asking everyone involved to weigh the severity and validity of their disabilities. This is the AH move. Others say that you are not an AH for asking, but rather for insisting and arguing. I disagree. The AH move was asking a disabled person to forfeit their reasonable accommodation in the first place. If the priority seats are full, you need to accept that they are filled by people who need them. And guess what? They got there first. Go ask people in the regular seats to move. Do not ask disabled people to give up their seats. Why is this a lesson you're just now learning? Edit. Typos, spelling. Yes. YTA. You should have left it alone after that young man said he was disabled and needed the seat. Autism can be comorbid, occur together with sensory, anxiety, and/or motor function issues that might make it difficult or overwhelming to be in crowded spaces or stand in a moving vehicle. It's very possible that this young man might have had trouble standing up on a moving train, that he could be easily overwhelmed and suffer panic attacks from unwanted physical contact and crowded conditions, or both. Not everyone with autism spectrum disorder has these issues, but a lot of people do, and yeah, if they do, they need a seat on the bus or the train. Next time, just do what I did when I was pregnant. Move on to people in the regular seats and ask if they will let your girlfriend sit down. Edit. For tone and clarity. Edit 2. Thanks for the award. YTA. You were fine to ask him to vacate the seat. But when someone tells you they have a disability that allows them to use the seat, you have to take them at their word and not argue whose disability worse. YTA. Bro. Is there a list printed somewhere that ranks which disabilities have the most priority on a priority seating? You're arguing with someone who you said should be allowed to use the priority seat about your version of a priority system that doesn't exist. Equal rights, bro. He said no. You didn't respect his answer. That's why YTA. YTA. Asking was fine, but persisting once he said he needed the seat wasn't. You have no idea why he was using the priority seat, and you weren't in any place to judge that he needed it less than your partner, let alone stand and argue with him that he was wrong about his own need for a priority seat. You had other options in this circumstance too. You could very easily have asked someone in one of the normal seats if they would mind allowing your partner to sit down. YTA. And while it's nice to care about your wife's comfort, but when someone says no, take it gracefully and move on. No one is required to tell you why they are sitting in that seat. It's none of your business. As well, people on the autism spectrum can have physical symptoms that you don't seem to give consideration to. You don't get to be the judge of whose disability is meeting the requirement. There are many invisible disabilities that may not be obvious but would render someone with the need for one of those seats. And sorry, while I know that it's tiring, but pregnancy is not a disability. Many women in the world handle a whole lot more than a bus ride while pregnant, and it is not society's responsibility to support your procreation. However, I also felt that despite this, it wasn't a physical impairment and he was more capable of standing than my partner, who had been stood up for a long time and really needed to rest at this point. When I tried to explain this to him, he became very defensive and called me an asshole for not appreciating his needs too. YTA. Just for thinking it is up to you to judge how capable of anything someone else is, and for trying to argue with him about his own disability. Priority seats are, as the name implies, mainly for people who needs them. But it doesn't mean that people with temporary or lasting disabilities needs don't have the right to occupy other seats as well. If all the priority seats are occupied, the correct course of action is asking the nearest person for their non-priority seat. It's a matter of being civil. If the disabled seats are occupied, don't ask a disabled person to move. Ask other passengers FFS. YTA You should never ask a specific person to give up their seat. You don't know what their abilities are. I would say, to a group of people, is there anyone who could let my wife have a seat? So you don't put any one person on the spot. YTA. He said no. You don't get to decide how people with disabilities are affected by standing and whether that deserves a priority seat. You have no right to know that guy's or anyone else's medical history, and it's not your place to determine who's more worthy of a seat. As someone with hidden disabilities, it kinda pisses me off when pregnant people and their partners feel entitled to the already limited support put in place for disabled people. You and your partner chose to have a baby. People don't choose to have disabilities. YTA. However, I also felt that despite this, it wasn't a physical impairment and he was more capable of standing than my partner, who had been stood up for a long time and really needed to rest at this point. When I tried to explain this to him, your opinion wasn't relevant. Asking was fine. Pressing your case after he refused was not okay. You aren't in a position to assess whose needs are valid or should take priority. YTA. Hidden disabilities are real, and it's not up to you to decide whether a person needs a seat or not. On both sides of this, I can't believe how many people are saying that Op and his partner should use a car. Next you'll be saying elderly people should stay home, or that disabled people should stay home, or that if autistic people can't handle the tube without a seat they should stay home too. It's a slippery slope, people. Ultimately both sides were wrong here. But everyone has the right to access public transport and services, even if they need a little bit of extra help here and there. I would have said nah, but you became YTA when you insisted he get up. YTA. Shocked by all the individual autistic people dismissing sensory, comorbid, spectrum and is this a disease? People acting as if they are the sole authority on autism. It's totally illogical to think you can speak for an entire spectrum. Also shocked by all the people dismissing that individual's autism because he was able to speak. Not with a caretaker, other proof, he isn't sick enough to deserve the seat. Pregnancy, in this case, was a choice. Neurodivergence is not. If you feel entitled enough to make demands of someone on public transport after they have said no once, get a taxi. That person paid their taxes to fund that train just as much as you did. They have equal right to it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.